When you picture King Henry VIII, what comes to mind? Probably this huge, imposing figure, right? But his story, it's really a tale of two completely different men in one body. He started out as this incredible athlete, a true warrior king, admired all across Europe. But by the end, he was so broken he literally couldn't move without machines hauling him around. So the big question is, how on earth does this king become that one?
Okay, so to really get our heads around this incredible collapse, we've got to go back to the beginning. We need to see the man at his absolute peak. Because young Henry VIII, well, he wasn't just some king sitting on a throne. He was a rock star athlete, a total symbol of strength and power all over Europe.
And look, this wasn't just for PR. He was the real deal. He was incredible at all these super demanding sports. I mean, jousting, that was the most dangerous, most high-status sport of the time, and it was his absolute passion. He'd go hunting, he'd wrestle his own courtiers for fun, and he was even a big tennis player. For Henry, being this physical powerhouse, that was everything. It was his identity, his brand as a strong, capable king.
But all of that, this incredible life of action and glory, it all came to a screeching halt. A catastrophic one. It all came down to a single moment. One terrible fall that started a domino effect that would just completely unravel his entire life.
So picture this. It's 1536. Henry is in a jousting tournament, decked out in full armor. He gets thrown from his horse, which is bad enough, but then the horse, also in full armor, falls right on top of him. It crushed his legs. The man was out cold for 2 hours. And yeah, he survived, but those injuries, they never ever healed properly.
That accident, that was basically the starting gun for a slow, painful, and total physical collapse. The warrior king's body was just broken. And from that day on, his health went into this unstoppable nosedive.
The biggest, most immediate problem was these chronic leg ulcers that developed. Now, you have to remember, this is Tudor times. Their medicine, it wasn't great. They had zero antibiotics, no clue about infection control. So for Henry, this was basically a death sentence for his active lifestyle. He was left with these awful open wounds that would get infected, sometimes seem to heal a bit, and then just burst open again. It meant he was in constant, agonizing pain.
And get this, just let this sink in for a second. The king, the center of the entire royal court, walked around with the constant, disgusting smell of his own rotting wounds. I mean, historical accounts actually mention this. It's such a raw detail that really tells you how bad things were. There was just no hiding it.
So now you have this perfect storm brewing. On one side, his ability to move just tanks. The pain in his legs meant no more jousting, no more hunting, no more tennis, all the stuff that made him him. But on the other side, his appetite was still going strong. He kept on eating these massive Tudor banquets, just mountains of meat, sugar, and booze. So you've got way less activity, but the exact same amount of calories going in. You can probably guess what happened next.
Yeah, his weight gain was just out of control. By the 1540s, his waistline had ballooned to an incredible 52 inches. 52! They had to build special armor just to fit around him. That one number alone just paints such a clear picture of how much he'd changed.
Historians figure he eventually weighed over 300 pounds. That's about 136 kilograms. I mean, at that size, just think about it. Even simple things like standing up or walking across a room would have been this massive, painful effort.
And it just kept getting worse. Eventually, he got to a point where his own servants couldn't even move him anymore. He was just too heavy, too unstable. They couldn't do it safely. So they had to come up with this, well, kind of desperate and really undignified solution.
I mean, it's a real question, right? How does a king that big even get around? You're the most powerful guy in the country, but you're literally stuck in your chair. What's the solution?
The answer, believe it or not, was machines. The court had to build these mechanical hoists. Think of systems of ropes and pulleys, kind of like a crane, just to lift the king. They used him to get him out of chairs, to winch him up onto his horse, even to get him into bed. It's just staggering. The greatest athlete of his generation now had to be moved around like cargo.
Yeah. In his last years, that's what his life was. He was the King of England, a man with total power, but he had to rule his entire kingdom from a chair. He was basically a prisoner in his own body.
Okay, so why is this story so important? Why does it matter?
Well, because his physical collapse wasn't just some sad personal story. It had a massive effect on who he became as a person, and that, in turn, changed the course of history.
So let's just recap the whole chain reaction here. You've got 5 key things that led to his ruin. 1. The jousting accident that caused a permanent injury. 2. The chronic infections that their primitive medicine just couldn't handle. 3. A crazy rich diet. 4. Zero exercise to burn it off. And 5. The fact that medical science at the time was, well, pretty useless for his problems. It was just this waterfall of issues that completely destroyed him.
And you have to think about what this does to a person's mind. All that physical suffering, it almost certainly messed with him psychologically. We remember Henry VIII in his later years for being paranoid, for having this terrifying temper. And it's really not a stretch to think that living every single day in excruciating pain would make anyone bitter, angry, maybe even a tyrant. A lot of historians believe his physical pain is what fueled his cruelty.
So that leaves us with this huge what if, doesn't it? What if that jousting accident in 1536 never happened? Would we even know the story of the tyrannical, paranoid King Henry? Or would he have been remembered differently? It really makes you wonder how much of history isn't about big political plans, but about something as simple and as human as one man's health and his pain.
Thanks so much for sticking with us for this one. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more explainers just like this. We'd love to have you.